This is Moutai. It's 53% alcohol, tastes like firewater, and a bottle can cost tens of thousands of dollars.
Moutai is the national liquor of China, so it's many people's go-to drink.
As Moutai's popularity grows, so has its share price. In June 2020, it surpassed China's biggest bank, climbing to reach a valuation of over $500 billion in 2021. Today, Moutai is the world's largest beverage company by market value. The company is now worth $295 billion. That's more than double the market cap of the company that owns Budweiser and more than 10 times the parent company of Jack Daniels. But there are challenges ahead, particularly among Chinese youths unwilling to splurge and international consumers who know little about Moutai. So, what's next for China's premier liquor brand? This is the economics of Moutai. Before we get into the details, how do people drink Moutai?
It'll be consumed in these tiny little 5 or 6 ml Kweichou glasses, and the reason why it's so small is because it's much stronger than your usual spirits, and also because it's in such a small glass, you can kind of sip your way over the course of a long banquet with many different dishes.
Moutai is rooted deep in Chinese history, earning a reputation as the drink of diplomacy. During the Chinese Civil War in the 1930s, communist soldiers on the run made a stop at a village in Kweichou province, where Moutai is made, and reportedly used the liquor to wash their blistered feet after trekking thousands of miles. The story helps cement Moutai's status as the drink of choice among the Communist Party leadership, including Premier Zhou Enlai, who toasted President Nixon with Moutai during his historic visit to China in 1972. 2 years later, Secretary of State Henry Kissinger met Zhou and said, "If we drink enough Moutai, we can solve anything."
Because of the fact that it's been at so many historical moments, so the brand awareness of Moutai is like top-notch, which also explains why it's a status symbol. My friends would bring Moutai to weddings. If there's political banquet, then there will be Moutai served.
Last shots, 22,000, 45,000, 48,000, sold.
Moutai is popular among the rich and elite in China.
Thank you.
This year, Sotheby's hosted its first Moutai-themed auction.
Jackie shakes his head.
It has become a more prominent category that demands its own category, which is not an easy feat, I think.
Paul Wong has been an auctioneer at Sotheby's for more than a decade.
So 80% of our consumers, they buy and drink, and 20% maybe they buy it, for saving up. It's a safe buy, even if you don't drink it now, because prominent brands like Moutai will be ahead of the curve.
Moutai is not only a safe choice for collectors, but also for investors. The liquor firm has long been considered as one of China's bellwether stocks.
Moutai is basically the anchor of value investing, meaning that any fluctuations in Moutai share price could affect the entire Chinese equity market. It's sort of not in the officials' interest or in the investors' interest, to be honest, to let Moutai's share price fluctuate that much.
Moutai shares have declined since early 2021 amid Chinese President Xi Jinping's anti-corruption drive and COVID restrictions. But the stock has proved more resilient than the broader Chinese stock market, shown here by the country's benchmark index.
What makes Moutai shares in general stable despite these fluctuations is that the demand remains pretty stable even during COVID years. Moutai's revenue increased, so that kind of speaks to how stable the company is.
Consistent high demand and constrained supply is how Moutai keeps its prices high. The cheapest bottle on the market costs about $350. But vintage ones, like this 80-year-old bottle, can go for almost $40,000. And this lot from the 1970s smashed records and was sold for $1.4 million. Scarcity is what keeps Moutai expensive. Much like champagne has to come from France and bourbon from the US, the liquor can only be made in this village in Kweichou.
So the supply isn't that high, usually. A typical bottle of Moutai takes at least 5 years to make. It needs to use a specific type of grain, which is a red color sorghum, and then it needs to be distilled 9 times and aged 3 years. So for any drop of Moutai to go from production to the market, it takes quite a while.
This 7-story statue resembling a Moutai bottle symbolises the company's importance to Kweichou, which owns Moutai.
The GDP per capita of Moutai village is about $310,000, and that's more than 4 times of the GDP per capita of the entire US.
Making sure the brand continues to thrive is one of Moutai's biggest challenges.
A brand is like a living entity that always needs to be replenished.
爸，今儿喝这个。
Moutai's consumer base has long been dominated by older and wealthier Chinese, who appreciate the brand's historical significance and could afford to serve bottles during formal dinners.
买上。
So the company launched new marketing campaigns to target younger Chinese. Over the past 2 years, Moutai collaborated with newer brands, including different flavours of pre-packaged ice cream and Moutai-infused lattes, which went viral on Chinese social media when it launched last September. That same month, the company unveiled a new partnership with Dove to release liquor-filled chocolate. Priced between $5 to $10, all of them sold out quickly, though they only accounted for less than 0.3% of Moutai's overall revenue. And not everyone who bought these products enjoyed them.
那味道呢，感觉还是蛮奇怪的。
And if they don't like it, they probably won't be willing to splurge $350 on a bottle.
Because the economy is not doing very well, so people tend to downgrade their consumption. Previously, they might, buy a luxury bottle of Moutai. Now they're fine with just beer.
Another problem facing Moutai, it's not well known outside of China. That's why the company is trying to promote the brand overseas and expand its consumer base globally. Moutai says it's now available in more than 70 countries.
We shared Moutai's move taste with the world.
But the brand remains obscure in global markets.
I think most people who tend to really enjoy Moutai are still Chinese. I remember in one of the stories, one of the interviewees said, I really don't get it, it tastes like ethanol.
If Moutai wants to continue to grow, it needs to be less reliant on the Chinese market.
Looking ahead, if Moutai wants to be as stable as now, that's fine. But if it wants to expand more aggressively, it needs to look to the younger generation and the global audience.
Moutai may have a long way to go before it becomes a global household name, but its dominance in the liquor industry remains. Its annual net profit in 2023 beat market expectations, rising 19% to $10.3 billion.
Moutai, as a very big brand, it's almost immune to many things that are happening in the Chinese economy right now. It is the most valuable alcohol producer in China and the biggest in the world, and will probably continue to be.